What's going on, everybody, and welcome to my very first coverage on the Gundam SEED Freedom movie. Well, on YouTube at least. Those of you who are following me on Instagram or Twitter know that I've been posting about it as we get news here and there, but we got some pretty big announcements this past week, so I want to really dive into things. We're going to go into some background info of the movie, what we know so far, my thoughts and predictions on what kind of story might be told, and of course the new trailer and mobile suits that were just revealed. You know the drill. If you enjoy the video, please be sure to subscribe to the channel for more Gundam content, and let's get right into it. So in case you weren't aware, Gundam SEED Freedom is the new movie that will continue the story of SEED and SEED Destiny and will be releasing in theaters on January 26th, 2024. As of right now, we have no information on whether or not this movie will be released in theaters outside of Japan. However, the last two Gundam movies, Hathaway and Doan's Island, both had releases in other countries, so I'm hoping that trend will continue with this film. SEED Freedom is set in Cosmic Era 75, in other words 2 years after the events of SEED Destiny. By this point in time, Kira has joined Zaft to support Lacus and is part of a special task force known as Compass that I assume is meant to keep the peace and deal with any terrorist threats. But he's not the only one. We can see from the trailers that some more familiar faces are also part of Compass, including Athrun, Shin, Luna Maria, Maru, and Mu, as well as a new character named Agnes. Outside of this organization, there are other characters we've seen before, including Kagali, Izak, and Diarca. It seems like in the aftermath of the Second Bloody Valentine War, Zaft is still dealing with the remnants of Logos. This is just my assumption, but the reason I think so is because we see a lot of Earth Alliance suits, including daggers, Windams, and even Destroy Gundams. It just seems more likely to me that this is Logos refusing to give up, rather than the Earth Alliance starting another war given the sorry state they were left in after the events of Destiny. What's really got me interested here is that it seems like Kira is going to take on a very different role than we're used to seeing him in. I'm going to play a couple of clips for you here and then we'll get to some theorizing.
僕たちは何も守れてない。なぜわからないんだ。キラ、やめろ。ダメよ、キラ君。止めてください、キラを。
Now of course we have very limited information, but here's what I'm thinking. In that first clip from the second trailer, we hear him say, "We can't protect anything." And later in the trailer angrily shouting, "Why don't you understand?" as his eyes glow red, which we've never seen before. This is immediately followed by both Mu and Maru telling him not to do whatever he's doing or is about to do. And then to top it all off, Lacus says, "Please stop him, stop Kira." Judging from these clips, it seems like Kira is going to be taking on some sort of antagonist role or having his own villain arc of some sort. Let's put this into perspective really quickly. Kira was only 15 years old at the beginning of Gundam SEED, and he was 18 in SEED Destiny. By the time he was a legal adult, he had fought in 2 massive wars. And not just fought, he was an unaffiliated third party that fought against both sides in order to bring each conflict to a close. Ultimate coordinator or not, the amount of strain that has to put on any one person, let alone a teenager, has to be unimaginable. If after all that there were still people out there who wanted to light the flames of war, it might not seem that unreasonable for Kira to lose his faith in humanity and go a little over the edge. I'm not sure what form this will take exactly, but it seems to be that he's going to do something drastic, like potentially go against his principles and attempt to kill people that he deems are a threat to world peace, or maybe something even more extreme. It will then be up to his friends to bring him to his senses before he does something that he can't take back. That covers the important details that have been announced so far, so let's take a look at the new information that we got in the past week or so, starting with this key visual. This features the new Rising Freedom Gundam and Immortal Justice Gundam and looks absolutely amazing. We'll get more into the equipment and gimmicks of these suits later when we go through the Gunpla lineup because a lot of the promo images show these suits in action. Now there's been quite a bit of discourse about these designs. I've seen people that absolutely love them and I've seen others that think they look like trash. I'm personally a fan of them because they remind me of the original Freedom and Justice, and I'm in the minority that actually prefers those designs more than the Strike Freedom and Infinite Justice. But from what I've seen in my Instagram comments and on Twitter, the Rising Freedom seems to be getting the most attention out of the two for a couple of reasons. The first is that this iteration of the Freedom looks like it incorporates some of the design aesthetic of the Destiny Gundam. If you look closely, the forearms look almost identical, not to mention that this is the first time we've seen a Freedom design that doesn't have face vents. The second reason is that some people feel that this is almost a downgrade from Strike Freedom due to the lack of funnels. The running theory from the fandom right now is that this Freedom and Justice are in fact not as powerful as the ones we saw in Destiny and may not even be nuclear powered. If you think about it, it would make sense for them to decide that they didn't need these overwhelmingly powerful weapons in peacetime, and it's possible that nuclear weapons were banned altogether due to all the destruction they caused in the two Bloody Valentine Wars. Next, let's go through the new trailer and discuss what we can make out from it, because this one has a lot more action than the previous two. The trailer opens with a classic SEED launch sequence of Kira and the Rising Freedom. What stood out to me immediately is that he's launching from the Minerva and not the Archangel, which is interesting because we see the Archangel in a previous trailer and in the new key visual, so it makes me wonder when it will come into play. After launching, we see the Rising Freedom transform into its mobile armor mode, which is a feature that the Immortal Justice has as well. After some clips of Zaft forces fighting, we see Kira fighting against a Gundam, which immediately transitions into a very short clip of one of the new Black Knight Squad mobile suits. This looks like it's the same battle, and I think this shot was deliberately done like this to make it unclear as to whether Kira is fighting the Black Knights or not. A couple seconds later, and we see the full Black Knight squad together. It consists of one commander unit, the Shiva, and 4 Rajroa units, each with custom colors for each pilot. Those pilots were revealed at the end of September, and I'll put their character art on screen now. The question I'm asking myself is who the Black Knight squad is affiliated with. They were revealed along with some other characters, including a young girl by the name of Aura Maha Kyber, and you can see one of the squad members, Shura Serpentine, standing next to her in this clip from the second trailer. The members of Compass are also bowing to her, with the exception of Shin of course, and she's sitting on a throne, so maybe she's supposed to be some sort of royal figure? She kinda gives me the same impression as Mineva Zabi when she was still a child. If we go back to the new trailer, you can see Zaft mobile suits in the sky behind the squad, but I get the feeling that whatever organization they're a part of is not directly affiliated with Compass or Zaft. If you look at the design of the Shiva and Rajroa, they don't really have the aesthetic of Zaft's suits. In fact, they almost don't look like something out of a Gundam series at all. All this makes me wonder if the main cast will end up fighting against them at some point, but I guess we'll see. The other thing to note about this clip is the brief negative color flash and the sound effect that plays as the Shiva takes off. This is the same sound effect that Gundam Age used for X-Rounders, but we've never heard it in SEED before, so it'll be interesting to find out what it actually means or signifies. Next, we have a quick shot of the Immortal Justice and the new Gyan Strom, followed by one of the Gelgoog Menace. We then see one of the gimmicks of the shield that the Immortal Justice and Rising Freedom are equipped with that allows them to launch it at enemies and strike them with a beam blade that emerges from the front, similar to the Death Scythe from Gundam Wing. Then we have arguably one of the coolest parts of the trailer where we see the Gyan Strom emit beam blades from all around its circular shield, and then strike down a 105 dagger by spinning them like a buzzsaw. This is immediately followed by a clip that has some context clues, so I'm going to play it first and then talk about a few things I noticed. So first is the characters that we see on screen here. We have Shin, Luna Maria, Kira, and Agnes. These are the only characters from Compass that we've seen in pilot suits in the actual trailer so far. In the character art that's been released, we can see that other characters like Athrun and Mu also have Compass pilot suits, but like I said, we haven't actually seen them in any of the trailers. We also see a short clip of Athrun in the second trailer wearing what looks like his Alex Dino disguise, so he may be doing some sort of undercover work. The reason I bring all this up is that I think it gives us hints as to who is the pilot of each mobile suit, aside from Kira, who's obviously piloting the Freedom. Given everything we've just discussed, I think it's actually Shin piloting the Immortal Justice and not Athrun, which is interesting because it makes me wonder why he wasn't given a newer version of the Destiny. The Gelgoog Menace is clearly painted in Luna's colors. I don't think we have any reason to doubt that she'll be its pilot, which leaves us with Agnes. When I first saw the Gyan Strom, I expected it to be piloted by Izak since it matches his white color scheme, and there was even a leak that said that Shin would be its pilot. But given that it's seen alongside the Immortal Justice and that its colors are very similar to Agnes's pilot suit, it leads me to believe that she'll be the one piloting it. Although, in that first clip of the Justice, it looks like it's being flanked by one on both sides, so who knows who else will pilot one of these things. The next part of that clip I want to discuss is whatever particle effect is going on in the background. This looks like something ripped straight out of Gundam 00, and while Kira is in the middle of it, we see his eyes turn from purple to that red we talked about earlier as he says, "I'll end this." It seems too closely related to be a coincidence, so it makes me wonder if whatever is going on here has to do with him losing his mind or going down the wrong path. Hell, this clip almost makes it look like he's a sleeper agent being activated. After this, we get some other random shots, including one of a missile countdown. Again, because the narrative at this point is kind of open-ended, this could really mean anything. These could be regular missiles, they could be nukes, they could belong to Logos, or maybe Kira is going to try launching them at someone, who knows. And then to close out the trailer, we get this flashy sequence of the Rising Freedom cutting up a bunch of 105 daggers, which just looks absolutely gorgeous. Now let's move on to the Gunpla lineup for SEED Freedom, and this is where we're going to delve a little more into the details of the new suits. What's cool about the high grade kits for the movie is that they're all using what's called the SEED Action System. This is a system incorporated into the design of the kits that gives them more flexible joints that allow for increased articulation and therefore many more options for posing. If you ever built the HG build burning or tri burning from Gundam Build Fighters Tri back in the day and remember how easy it was to move their arms and legs around, it's kinda like that but taken up a notch further. Let's start with the high grade Rising Freedom and Immortal Justice, which of course are the main features of this lineup. The biggest new feature of these two suits compared to their previous iterations is the ability to transform into MA mode. In the video, it looks like the transformation can be done without parts forming, which is good I guess. I know some people are not very fond of kits that use that kind of transformation. Like I mentioned earlier, their physical shields can be launched and used to attack enemies, but the Rising Freedom can also generate beam shields from its forearms. As for the Immortal Justice, it uses blades that are larger and have a different shape than traditional beam sabers, and can also generate beam sabers on its legs just like the Infinite Justice. Looking at the suit in its kit, it doesn't look like the Immortal Justice has a Phantom detachable backpack, but instead combines the Phantom's aesthetic with some elements from the Savior's backpack. Next up is the high-grade Gelgoog Menace, and I absolutely love this thing. You guys know me, I'm a massive Zeon fan, and I think they've once again done a great job of capturing the essence of the original Zeon suit while making it feel at home in the SEED universe. You can definitely tell that the head, limbs, and torso, as well as the beam rifle, beam naginata, and shield all bear resemblance to the original Gelgoog, but it still retains that ZAF design philosophy that clearly says this is a SEED suit. Even though the silhouette of the head looks like the Gelgoog, the details are more like a combination of the Zaku Warrior and the Jin. It also has a launcher that looks similar to the one used by the Gunner Zaku Warrior, and the backpack looks like a combination of the general shape of the Justice's Phantom and the Strike Rouge Utori's weapons, with a missile pod on one side and a cannon on the other. To round out the high grade kits, we have the Shiva and the Red Roa from the Black Knight squad. The Shiva is the command unit and therefore has a lot more going on. It's got this awesome looking physical blade, and its shield is equipped with a large claw as well as a smaller deployable wire claw. Other weapons include double-sided beam sabers as well as beam sabers generated from its feet, similar to the Aegis. It also has a beam mantle on its back and can open up its chest to do something, and from the images on the Bandai hobby site, it doesn't look like this one has any ranged weapons. As for the Red Roa, this is the one used by the other 4 members of the squad, so it's much less flashy. It does have the same beam mantle, but other than that, it only comes with a beam rifle, anti-ship sword, and a regular shield. We are getting one real grade kit in the form of the Force Impulse Gundam Spec 2, and by the looks of it, this suit is almost identical to the original, save for a slightly darker paint job. We haven't seen it appear in any of the trailers so far, so we have no idea what kind of role it's going to play or who's going to be piloting it. Last but not least, we have the SD-EX Standard Rising Freedom Gundam. Not much to say here, but if you like SDs, then this one might be for you. This kit can transform like the high grade, but it looks like some of the gimmicks such as the deployable shield and full burst mode aren't possible. That wraps up all the new information that was released for Gundam SEED Freedom, and I gotta say, with each info dump, I'm getting more and more excited for this movie. SEED was the first Gundam series I ever watched as a kid, so it's always going to hold a special place for me, and I'm just glad we're getting more content. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that we get some info soon on any sort of worldwide release. I think it would be a shame if they were to limit this movie to just Japan. We're only about 4 months away from the release, so hopefully we'll be getting more and more info as we get closer to January. At this point, I'm really just looking for a trailer that gives us a more concise idea of what the story will look like. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'd love to hear any predictions if you have them. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to leave a positive rating and do all the usual algorithm stuff. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one.